Hello and welcome to the video on target costing. In this video, I'm going to talk about the concept of target costing, how one can address the cost gap, the suitability and the implication of target costing approach, and what are some of the steps a company can follow to implement the target costing approach. Target costing is not just a method of costing. It can be defined as a management technique where because the prices are determined by the market condition, the management wants to control the costs as they have very little control over the selling price. Target costing flows directly from the cost plus pricing approach, where the selling price of the product or the service is determined based on the cost on which an appropriate margin or a markup is added. In order to arrive at a target costing, the company first identifies a target selling price. This is true for most companies these days, where the competition is so intense that prices are in effect determined by the demand and supply in the market. No manufacturer have a control on the selling price. They are all price takers rather than price setters. Once the target selling price is found, the company deducts the margin that they desire to make from the sale. The ultimate result is the cost that they need to target. So the management's objective is to ensure that the cost in the production process meets this set objective. So to arrive at a target costing, profit margin is deducted from the selling price, and the focus or the objective is to ensure that the cost meets this target. Some of the key features of a target costing approach or a technique is that the producer is a price taker rather than a price maker. It's a strategy where the management focuses on reducing the cost and hence it's an effective cost management philosophy. It leads to some advantages for the company. For example, it shows a management commitment to process improvement and product innovation so as to gain any competitive advantage in the market. As time goes on, the company's operation improves, and if it is able to meet the target cost, it can create economies of scale through volume. Once a target cost is estimated, the next step is addressing the cost gap. Cost gap is the difference between the estimated product cost or the actual product cost and subtracting it the target cost from it. If this value is positive and bigger, then there is a huge work to do to bring the product cost down. However, if this gap is smaller or even negative, then the management or the production process can work towards improving some level of profitability in the business. If the cost gap is huge, the only thing the company can do is to bring down the production cost. The quickest fix to bring the production cost down is to compromise on the quality. Lower quality, lower cost, higher quality generally means higher cost. However, be mindful that if the reason why your product and services is demanded by the consumers is because of the quality perspective, then reducing the quality just to meet the cost gap may not be the most logical answer. There are some ways a company can address a cost gap by reducing the product costs. Few ways are in terms of eliminating any direct material used in the production process or maybe substituting those material with cheaper alternatives. try and bring the direct labor costs down by using low-skilled workers without compromising the quality or without increasing the defects in the manufacturing process. Is there any way to improve the productivity, maybe through employee motivation? And if the cost gap is low, can we increase the volumes to achieve economies of scale? Because in that sense, the process would be sustainable for the organization. So within the target costing, it's important to address the cost gap. We cannot affect the selling price. Hence, the only variable within the organization that can be controlled or managed is the product cost. So the company attempts to reduce the product cost to address the cost gap. While the target costing approach has been successfully tested and implemented across various manufacturing sectors, its applicability to the service sector is very debatable. This is mainly driven by the intangible nature of the service sector, where the service cost is not design driven. Most service sectors are driven by quality, and sometimes it is very difficult to reduce the cost without compromising the quality. Hence, it may not be applicable for service sectors. In terms of implication for the business, because the management focus is on reducing the cost, it leads to a one-dimensional thinking, without taking into consideration all the other interrelated elements to the cost reduction. Because the company focuses on only those products that have a profit margin or where the total production cost is less than the target cost, overall performance of the company improves when adopting the target costing approach. Sometimes products that were not viable because of high production costs becomes viable once a cost-cutting mechanism is put in place. So target costing has some benefits for manufacturing sector. Service sector is quite debatable. Following other steps the company can take when implementing the target costing approach. The first is establishing a market-driven selling price and estimating how many sales we would be able to achieve and what is the target profit we want to achieve. This leads to determining the target cost. The company then performs a functional cost analysis, and sometimes these might be for individual component or each processes in the production. This helps determine the estimated cost of production, which is compared to the target cost. If the estimated cost is more than the target cost, the company has to repeat step number 3, where it tries to reduce the estimated cost. Remember, this is an iterative process. Only once the estimated cost is less than the target cost, the company will make a decision of introducing the product. Finally, once that is achieved and the product is introduced in the market, the next big step is to ensure that this cost stays within the set defined conditions. So management of the production cost after the product is introduced in the market will ensure that the product is viable for the business.